Okay, so this will be a session on business valuation. So in the first thing that you need to do, your base year is times 0. So you need to first capture your inputs. So revenues for the firm is given to be as 1000 CR, right? The gross profit margin is given to be as 60%, which means my COGS will be revenues into 1 minus 60%, which is 400. That will yield my gross profit margin to be 600 CR. The operating expenses that are given is inclusive of depreciation of 20% of revenue. So that means my operating expenses, if I exclude depreciation, will be 1000 into 20% minus 100 CR of depreciation, which means my EBITDA will be 500 CR, right? Depreciation is anyways an input, so that is 100. So I get my EBIT to be as 400 CR. Is that right? Now you have been given the interest coverage ratio as 4, which means your interest will be 100 CR. Reduce that from EBIT and you get your PBT, which is profit before tax of 300 CR. Tax rate is given to be at 40%, which means my taxes are 120 CR. Which means my net income now stands at 180 CR. Now I'm ready to get my free cash flows. Before that, I'm just going to capture my capital expenditure and working capital investments. And that is given to be as how much? Your capital expenditures and working capital investments are given to be as 125 CR respectively, which means my free cash flow will be net income plus, always remember to use linkage, I into 1 minus tax rate plus non-cash charges of depreciation minus capex minus working capital investment. So your FCFF will be 215 CR. Yes or no? Now these FCFFs are expected to grow within the forecasting period. Now this period that you have here, this one, this is what? This is your forecasting period of 5 years. Isn't it? This becomes your forecasting period. So you must always highlight that separately. In this forecasting period, what do you see? That the growth of the free cash flows is given to be as, I think 14%. Is that right? So free cash flows in the subsequent years will be previous year cash flow into 1 plus 14%. And you don't need to do the entire exercise of net income and all of that separately. There's no need. Because it's the cash flow that needs to grow. Discounting factors के लिए I have 18% as my expected WACC. So discounting factors will be 1 by 1 plus R, which is your WACC to the power of n. I need to increase my WACC and drag this to the right. And this will enable me to get my present values. But mind you, the exercise is not over yet, isn't it? Why? Because this is just the present value of the cash flows within the forecasting period, but the firm is not going to die off within the forecasting. The first firm is going to continue. And I need to find out the terminal value at the end of the 5th year. Now, you know that with Gordon's constant growth model, if I take V1, I have FCFF. If I take V0, it's FCFF1. So if I have to find out the value of the 5th year, I have to take FCFF of 6th year. So that is going to be free cash flow of the 5th year into 1 plus your terminal growth rate. What is your terminal growth rate? 4%. So free cash flow of the 5th year into 1 plus terminal growth, that is FCFF6, divided by WACC minus the terminal growth, which is 3075 point or 3075 rather. But the exercise is still not over because this is the terminal value at the end of the forecasting period, which means in this case, it's the terminal value at the end of the 5th year. 5th year. So how do I convert this to present value? I multiply this with the 5th year discounting factor and I get the terminal value of the 5th year. Present value again. Now, if I add all of these, I'm going to get the present value of all my future cash flows. And that turns out to be how much? Just sum up all these values, which is 2315 point or 2314.68. Now, is this a good valuation? If yes, why? If no, why? Would this be a good valuation? No, it's not a good valuation. Why? Because one of the reasons why it's, see, for a firm which has a revenue base of 1000 CR, if you're getting a valuation of 2000 CR odd, it's a very poor valuation, I would say. One of the reasons is the extremely high weighted average cost of capital. So suppose I want to play around with these numbers and I want to find out, okay, what is the, क्या कहते हैं उसको? What is the valuation that I can get if my, if I want an enterprise value of 4000 CR, what should be my maximum WACC, weighted average cost of capital? So I'll just go to data, what if analysis goal seek, and I set my valuation enterprise value to 4000 CR by changing my weighted average cost of capital, and I press OK. And you will see that you need the weighted average cost of capital to be not more than 12%. If your WACC is negotiated or brought down to 12%, then you will be able to achieve a valuation of 4000 CR. But since your WACC is much higher, the expected return is much higher, you will see that your future cash flows are much lower. Now, this is, or rather, your valuation is much lower. Now, this is the right place of time where I can, even go one step ahead. And probably I can put something like a scroll bar here. And this scroll bar will tell me, depending upon the change in my WACC, how does my business valuation change? So I create a format control here. Current value is 18. So let's say I take it from 12% to 24% with an incremental change of 1. And I link this to this cell and I press OK. So now if I see here, this should move, right? Now all I need to do is link this cell here to my model. Now please look at the screen. If I And look here, this is where you need to look. Okay, I'm putting the arrow. So make sure you look here. ये देखो यहाँ पे. This is where you need to look. All of you. Now, if I change my cost of capital to, let's say, 17, can you see your valuation is going up? 16 goes up further, 15 goes up further, 14 goes up further. And if my cost of capital is increasing, my valuation is going up, or rather down. And if I bring this down to 12%, you'll see you are achieving approximately 4,000 CR of enterprise value. So this is a sort of a mini control panel that you can draw. Yeah, spin control भी कर सकते हो. I'm just telling you, spin control we have already done earlier. So I just told you scroll bar, you can do that also. I will. It's there in the video. Correct. Okay, so that was, you can also do a few more things here. You can do the best case, worst case scenario manager. So that was about business valuation. Thank you.